Hi. Oh, मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानम् वर्षिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैः आवृतब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपम् स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः. Let's hope we will go through this session, both the speaker and the listeners, with a certain eye on the inner silence which is in us all the time. The voice say to us that there is silence not only between two sounds, but even beneath and behind sounds. Therefore, as we embark upon some loud thinking on silence as yoga, we must know that this is quite a serious topic. Those to see, those who have the ears to hear, intelligence to notice, there is silence all the time. And therefore, silence as yoga is a theme where it is about connecting to what already is. In Tamil, what is called Ulladu. And Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi blessed us with 40 verses on Ulladu. Ulladu Napatu. 40 verses on what is in the highest sense of the word. And what is Sat in Sanskrit, Ulladu in Tamil, Iruvudu in Kannada, Jo hai, jo sach mein hai in Hindi and so on, is actually blissful silence. Therefore, Sri Krishna talks of this great spiritual truth in many ways. Karmani akarmaya pashet. Even as a lot of activity is going on, there is actually a certain platform where nothing is going on. Karmani akarmaya pashet. Akarmani cha karmayaha. Sabuddhiman manusheshu. Sayuktaha kritsna karma krit. It's a very puzzling stanza. Doesn't Bhagavan Sri Krishna also say in the second chapter, while the previous quote was from the fourth, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Where everybody is excited about Kamini, Kanchana and Kirti, the wise Muni goes to sleep about it. And what he says is not visible to others. So, friends, we are going to reflect on silence as yoga. Silence as yoga. That's our theme this evening. And let's first see how great masters have praised silence in their own ways. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, Mauna is the utmost eloquence. Mauna is the utmost eloquence, and peace is utmost activity. When we are not so spiritually mature, eloquence for us means words, flowery words, powerful expressions, picturesque ways of describing something, and so on. We consider that eloquence. But upon gaining greater spiritual maturity, we know that Mauna can have a greater impact upon even large audiences. Same way, when we are gross in our thinking, activity means going from here to there, creating a lot of noise, exchanging money or other things. But Maharshi says, utmost activity is peace. For it is in peace that things really move. How, as a parallel, we know love moves mountains. Love moves mountains, and peace is the other side of the same coin for love. In talk 534, in the talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, put together by Munagala Venkatramaya, an all-time classic for spiritual students, in that collection, talk number 534 has Maharshi explaining how Mauna, silence, can be the ultimate or utmost eloquence. It is so because the person remains in his essential nature. And so he permeates all the recesses of the self in a manner of saying. And never forget the pure self. That's my added comments here. The pure self is the source of greatest blessings. Coming back to the quote, Maharshi says, thus he can call up any power into play whenever or wherever it is necessary. That is the highest siddhi. And that takes us to the question, what actually is Mauna? Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita praises Mauna as the greatest secret. In the Vibhuti Yoga, verse number 38, Maunam chaivasmi guhyanam jnanam jnanavatamaham. It's not just flowery speech there. Lord Krishna's words convey a profound truth. Silence is the greatest secret. And in 17th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, there are three kinds of austerity. Tapas, shariram tapaha. Austerity on the plane of the body. Vangmayam tapaha. Austerity on the plane of speech. And then coming to austerity, tapas on the plane of the mind, here is the shloka in its fullness. Mana prasadaha saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirityetat manasam tapa uchyate. Among three or four aspects of Manasa Tapa, tapas on the plane of the mind, Sri Krishna mentions Maunam. Maunam, if you and I are alert but silent, vigilant but free from mental chatter, noticing things but not reacting hastily or hurriedly, that ability to be free from impulsive reactions and to stay watchful is Manasam Tapa. Having touched upon Maharshi Ramana, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, it would be worthwhile mentioning something for now from the Upanishads, though there is more across so many Upanishads. In the very well-known metaphor of two birds on the same tree, the well-known mantra in the third Mundaka, first Khanda, the very first mantra, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samana Vriksham Parishasvajate Tayoranya Pippalam Swadvatti Anashnannanyo Abhichakashiti. In recent times, being a diabetic for 23 years, I have come across some wonderful guides, and they have convinced me how control over food can, in a natural way, bring down blood glucose. Permit me a brief diversion. And I have been smiling every time I come across this mantra where the last line is Anashnan Anyo Abhichakashiti. If you apply it to diabetes management, if we do not eat too often, if we do not overeat, if we do not eat forbidden food items, do not eat, do not eat, do not eat. That is called anashnan. Ashnan means eating. Anashnan means not eating. One of the ways by which people these days are trying to control their blood glucose, as many of you surely know, is so-called intermittent fasting. For some 16 hours, they don't eat anything. I don't follow that, but I am taking some steps towards something rather similar. Jagannath Dikshit in Pune says, eat twice in two 50 minutes windows, maybe at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. And at other time, like the second bird of the Mundaka, that is my addition. Jagannath Dikshit doesn't quote Upanishads, though he quotes very many interesting things. I would add Upanishadic touch to that teaching of advice of Dr. Jagannath Dikshit, who is on a mission to bring diabetes down in our country and abroad too. If other than two windows of 50 minutes in the 24 hours period, you do not eat anything which has even an iota of sugar, carbohydrate, etc., he says your blood glucose will come down. To conclude that uh, the reference, his logic is do not trouble the pancreas every now and then by putting a samosa into the mouth, by eating two glucose biscuits, by taking a cup of tea which is 70% milk and 30% or even a little. See, he says don't take milk. Anyway, I'm not talking about dietetics here, but the truth conveyed by Mundaka Upanishad has something wonderful. If you do not unnecessarily eat, if you do not overeat, Abhishaka Shiti shines, you look on, your face has certain alertness. You are not sleepy. You are not distracted. Abhichakashiti apparently means looks on. I used to imagine kashate, prakashate could be in this word, and therefore I often took the liberty of saying the face of the second bird shines, is radiant. But Shankaracharya himself doesn't give that meaning of prakashate. I should look further, in fact. He says looks on. But by context, this Abhishakashiti, without eating, the second bird looks on, watches as a gazing disposition. The first bird looks at the second one and is amazed. How come this second bird is without any sorrow? Friends, all of us, in and through our daily life, not only eat food through the mouth, we watch all sorts of unnecessary WhatsApp videos. We watch so much of television. We watch men and women. We watch things and objects in the world around. With so much of involvement, we are consuming. We are consuming. It is all ahara. When Chandogya Upanishad says ahara shuddha sattva shuddhi, according to Shankara's commentary, ahara is not just the food we eat through the mouth, the television we see, objects and people we see, movies we see, advertisements we see, and for a little that we see, quite a lot of thinking takes place in our mind. J. Krishnamurti, whom we'll refer to later also, talks about the creation of images in the mind. I see you coming in a Mercedes. My eyes do one part of the job. Your Mercedes passes by in 20 seconds. My eyes saw your Mercedes. My mind starts building up images. Hey, he was my classmate. When we were studying together doing BSc, he used to come to me for doubts in chemistry or biology. And now he has a Mercedes. I have an ordinary car. And so many thoughts. All that is the first bird. The sorrow of you and me is to a large extent because of mental activity which is not required. So Upanishads say, is it possible for you, first of all, not to see unnecessary things? Secondly, even when you see things, can you be so alert that you see what comes before your eyes with no ripples rising in your mind? If at all there is any ripple, in the example of the friend passing by in a Mercedes, let those ripples be appreciation. Ah, I'm so glad my friend has such a good car. I love him. In fact, we were such good friends in college. Now also, of course, we are not in touch, but I'm sure when we meet, it is time to remember the good times of those college days. He is a wonderful person. Good thoughts, appreciation. Then there is no noise. Noble thoughts bring us very close to silence. The second word of Mundaka Upanishad remains still, remains silent. The first bird is eating this fruit, then eating that fruit, hopping from one branch to the another, most of the time dissatisfied, discontent, unhappy about the taste of the fruit. Once in a while, happy. The second bird does not eat, does not say anything. There is a mauna. Its face shines. And true silence is when there is neither doership nor enjoyership. And I'll come to this. This silence is not brought about by will. If you say tomorrow onwards, I'm going to put doership and enjoyership away from me. What it is some kind of apple or orange you can keep away. Sense of doership, sense of enjoyership is a very subtle, sukshma formation of thought. Therefore, we must notice the operation of thought. Let's go further. What does silence do? What does silence do? In order to understand it, we must know that mental chatter wastes a lot of our energy. There was this very wonderful lady saint who initially was follower of Vinoba Bhave. Then briefly she was touched by Krishnamurti's teachings. Then she went around as an independent speaker. Around the world she went. Vimala Thakar. As the second, rather, at the bottom, her quote is given in one of her wonderful books, which is a collection of her writings or speeches. Vimalaji on intensive self-education. She says, you have no idea how much energy you expend or spend when you talk, especially when you talk a lot. When you use 20 sentences where it could have been better expressed in 3 or 4. If you know the art of speaking, if you have a clear mind, in 3 or 4 sentences you express better. By speaking 20 sentences, you leave the other person confused, more confused than before. Vimalaji says, you have no idea how much energy you waste when you talk. Why do we call silence as a yoga? Yoga means uniting with the higher, and silence does help us unite. Yud, yunakti, or in Atmanepadi, yud, yunkte, is to unite. Silence, when properly observed, can unite us with the divine. Silence is a form of tapas, as on one hand it saves energy by keeping away unnecessary reactions, and on the other, to enter a domain of a little mysticism, in silence, in a miraculous way, certain new energy rises from deep within. As the third bullet in the slide goes, silence is sometimes the best response to challenges or to criticism or to bad talk behind our back. I don't mean to go into any politics, but the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi is left and right criticized, made fun of, mocked at, and so much of hue and cry is there in the country and outside that he must quit, he must leave. you, Modi ji just keeps silent. He never reacts to anything that the opposition party says about him. You can imagine how much energy he must be saving. He seems to be just busy with attending to various plans and projects he has. There's something noteworthy. So silence sometimes is the best response. Somebody is talking behind your back all kinds of nonsense. You come to know. Give a smile and forget it. Unless it is really required for you to do something about it, which is 1 out of 10 cases. In 9 out of 10 cases, let people say. Sometimes such wisdom is in movies also. There was a very popular song when we were all in college days. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे लोगों का काम ही कहना. People say something. That is their job to say, to talk. Leave it. Leave it. Goes that song. Anyway, so silence helps us save our energy, and we need a lot of energy for spiritual exercises. Many of us drop our yoga, drop our meditation, drop our daily adhyayana. You know why? We have spent all our energy on reactions to something outside or something inside. Save your energy intelligently so that you can be in alert silence, which facilitates rising on the spiritual scale. How do we arrive at silence? It's not through suppression. For heaven's sake, silence is not arrived at by saying, I'm not going to talk. The guru, it seems, went out of the ashram for a week, and before leaving, he said to the students, brahmacharis, it could be brahmacharinis also, but to make matters simple, four brahmacharis who were sharing a room were told, and other brahmacharis also, till I come back, nobody you should talk. And they tried to follow. And as they sat one evening with Bhagavad Gita opened or some Shastra they were studying, for 10 minutes they were all silent. One of them forgot. Hey, what's the time? Is it time to go for dinner? The second brahmachari said, shh, don't you know we should not talk? And the third brahmachari said, but both of you talked. And the fourth one said, only I did not talk. If you simply suppress, that suppression will not last long. Then how under the sun are we to arrive at silence? It is through understanding only. Understanding what? Artificial intelligence? Chat GPT? No, no, not those things. Well, it's understanding the structure of our anger, our lust, our greed, the structure, the content, by understanding the operation of thought, of thinking. Generally, we imagine that our thinking is, as a word goes, monolith. Monolith means, you have a sculpture made of a single stone. It's a monolith. Whereas the sculpture, suppose, is made with many pieces of stone put together, and the dividing lines between those pieces are covered by some substance. It looks like a single stone, but go close, it has parts. Likewise, friends, when you and I have, let us say, anger, it has actually many parts. It has much to do with our past. Our anger has much to do with certain beliefs. Our anger has much to do with what we ate a few hours ago, how much we slept previous night, what happened before we came to the office. Something had perturbed us, disturbed us, thrown us off balance at home at 8 a.m. over breakfast. And then we go to an office at 10:30 a.m. we get angry. If you closely examine anger, you find that it is made of many components. Better not explain it further. Watch your anger, watch your loneliness, watch when you feel let down by somebody. On the surface, you may feel how she let me down, how she disappointed me about somebody. She said or did whatever she said or did, but in your getting so disappointed, there was behind it certain expectation. And behind that expectation, certain image that you have of her. And behind that image you have of her, from whom you had certain expectation, which when it was not fulfilled led to disappointment, there is a certain image of who you are. If I imagine that I had helped her so much, I think of myself as a great benefactor. The truth is something different. Maybe I had received a lot from her at a previous time, or if not her, I had received so much from her parents at one time. Her parents made me go through all my college education, helped me financially. And today I have helped this young lady. But I forget what I received from her parents. I only remember how in the last 1 year I gave her maybe some financial help. And today, when I said hello, she did not even look up at me. See? So, in my disappointment, there are layers and layers. And when we are a little quiet, we think, we come to understand, hey, let me not blame her. I'm in my own world. I'm expecting a lot of things from her when, really speaking, young lady, she has a career to follow. She's working towards getting a job or something. Why should I blame her? Being much older, let me just see why my mind is reacting. So, understanding in the Jnana Yoga is something where understanding itself makes a lot of things change. There is nothing like, okay, I have understood what I should do now. Action. Hey, why are you so obsessed with action, action, action? Don't be so obsessed with action. Expand your understanding. Then the right action will follow naturally. Using traditional terms, we arrive at silence by awakening viveka, which leads to vairagya. Viveka leading to vairagya facilitates our becoming silent, not in sorrow or in disappointment. We become silent through a certain alert understanding. The wonder that silence is, this is where some mysticism comes in. Jiddu Krishnamurti was not much understood, is not much understood, will not be much understood in the world for centuries to come. But when any of you somehow begin to understand him, you will say, hey, it is so simple. It is like that. In other words, to understand J. Krishnamurti, you don't need a PhD in philosophy. You don't need to be a graduate in maths or science or logic or some other complicated subject. You get him when you get him. Anyway, what has Krishnamurti said about silence? He says a solution that thought, thinking, persistent thinking cannot find. A solution that thought cannot find is revealed in silence. Looks very poetic. You may say, it's nice to hear that. But let me think. We are so addicted to thinking. It would not be an exaggeration to say we are addicted to thinking. We got to get out of addiction. Don't think only smoking or drinking alcohol or some other, There are so many addictions, movies and internet and all these gadgets and thousands of things. We are even some of us who are regarded as very well behaved have our own addictions. But Krishnamurti talked about, to use my own words, a certain addiction to thinking, and through thinking we become the thinker, we become the agent of thinking. That is also kartrutva, that is also bhoktrutva. And we are so neck deep in thoughts, and our world is joy or sorrow dictated by thoughts. In his own very mystical language, he spoke a lot how you see the limitation of thought. In Ramana's language, thought here is I thought, self-descriptive thought. For example, when you feel lonely next time, look at your thought. What is loneliness? It is not just you are alone, nobody is around you. That is not loneliness. When you are sitting and nobody is around you, thinking, conditioned thinking, puts a label upon you. Conditioned thinking says how pitiable you are. See, nobody is with you. There was a time when so many people used to come and surround you. Blah, 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 thought talks. And most of it is empty chatter. There is no truth in it. That label is not true. It's like somebody had a 4-bedroom house but feeling very low because his thought said, you are such a poor man. All your brothers have actually multiple houses of 5-bedroom each. So thought compares. Thought says your brothers are richer than you and therefore you are a miserable fellow. Is it true? Of the 4 bedrooms you have in your house, you hardly use 2 of them. Only when your sons, daughters, grandchildren come, they are used. Otherwise, your wife and you or your husband and you are just moving between 2 rooms, bedroom and hall and bed, something like that. Loneliness also is utterly a mischief of thought. Thought labels you. Ramana Maharshi always talked about I thought. I lost, let us say, 10 lakhs of rupees because of some fraud. Nowadays, some call comes and they say, please let me know the OTP you receive. And you give your OTP, you are finished. 10 lakhs clear, removed from your account. 10 lakhs gone is one side of the story. A certain self-description rises in your mind. On one hand, I am poor by 10 lakhs. On the other, if family members know, they will look at me as a fool. I have become a fool. I have made a fool of myself by sending that OTP. I don't want, even 10 lakhs I don't mind, but I don't want to be looked at as a foolish fellow. So thought is busy describing you. That is aham vritti. Krishnamurti said, as long as this thought is operating, it is all the time preventing you from seeing a certain solution which is waiting to arise in silence. When I thought is inquired into and is made to subside, the solution gets revealed. What a great insight! A solution that sustained thinking cannot find is revealed by and in silence. I began these lectures singing the shloka. Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Para Brahma Tattvam Yuvanam. I salute Dakshinamurti in that youthful form who revealed Brahma Tattva through Mauna Vyakya, a discourse of the nature of silence. Teachers like Swami Dayanandji, who are very, very bent upon saying that it is the Mahavakya that sets you free. I have an interpretation that Dakshinamurti's Mauna also was not to be looked at in isolation. The disciples, who are much older than Dakshinamurti, that's a less important issue, were taught through words. Maybe Dakshinamurti himself gave a short discourse, Tattvamasi being the essence of it, and lifting their mind to a certain height. That's how Swami Dayanandi says, Mahavakya Vichara lifts you, and at a certain point, an insight takes place. The popular interpretation is Dakshinamurti, through silence itself, helped them. It's a little debated issue. About Ramana Maharshi also, they say, through a gaze, silent gaze, he made people get an insight. And the Ramana gaze also, Ramana silent looking into your eyes, could be interpreted as there was already some cooking up in you, if not in this life, Pura Sanskara. And therefore, I would take a cautious approach. I would say Dakshinamurti's silence, if not by itself, gave them the insight, facilitated the insight into self-knowledge in the four rishis and through them many others. The insight into who I am, Atma Swarupa, was facilitated. But much Shravana Manana might have taken place, should have taken place, must have taken place before. Let's not get into that little bit debated area. The Buddha silence also on a higher plane, but I am giving you something to think about. On a lower plane, it is said somebody came and scolded the Buddha left and right, calling him names, accusing him of misleading the youth of the country, making more and more people become lazy monks roaming around and asking for alms when they actually had to work. Hey, somebody came and scolded, abused, and the Buddha was silent. Silence as yoga. And that man went away. Later on, when disciples asked the Buddha, so sad that that man said all these bad words and you kept silent. The Buddha smiled and said, you know, by remaining silent, I did not accept whatever he said. When you don't accept what somebody is offering, what happens? Whatever somebody offers remains with that person only. Therefore, all those abusive words were with that man only. He walked back with them. He said, so do we have the silence to take note of things but not react? And not to react again requires great maturity, great alertness, and not just resolving, not just a birthday resolution or New Year resolution or something or the other. Lastly, Ramana's silence was amazing. For decades, at the feet of the Arunachala mountain, at his ashram, of course, in the beginning at the some Virupaksha cave or some other place, later on at what today is Sri Ramanashram, he remained to a great extent silent. Of course, he did converse, he did answer questions. Sometimes when somebody asked a question, he did not answer also. His answers were crisp. Upadeshasara, one of his works, to this day is the composition in the shortest meter to my knowledge about among some 100 scriptures I have studied. Anushtup has 8 syllables in each quarter. Upadeshasara has only 5 in each quarter. Karturajnaya 5. Prapyate phalam 5. Karma kim param 5. Karma tajjadam 5. All through this 30th verse. 30th verse. Ramana Vagiyam, 5. Each quarter has 5. But in those 30 verses, so crisp, so condensed, so brief, he packs so much of wisdom. And when people asked him, tell us the essence of sadhana, he said, Summair, be still, chupraho. In Kannada, it becomes Summaniru. Summaniru. Chumairu. Be still and know you are God. I believe is a statement in the Old Testament that God revealed to Moses. And in verse 31 of Saddarshanam, which is the Sanskrit rendering of Ulladhanapata, the verse uses the word mauna. Maunena majjan manasa swamula charchaiva satyatma vicharanam syat. Half of the shloka. Satyatma vicharana, true self-inquiry consists in being silent and turning inward, diving inwards, and with an alert and vigilant mind, intelligent mind, inquire where from this I arises. Swa Mula, the source of I am good, I am bad, I am a fool, I am so smart. Million forms of self-description rise and they make us happy at times, they make us sad at times, they make us feel like committing suicide at times, they make us feel like celebrating with 100 friends this evening. At all play of thoughts, and behind and beneath those thoughts, there is a sense of I. That is ahamvritti. Ask where from it comes. And the word of interest this evening to us is Maunena. Maunena Majja. Niyamya Vacham Cha Pranancha, he says in an earlier verse. Koope Yatha Gada Jale Tatantar Nimajya Buddhya Chitaya Nitantam Pranancha Vacham Cha Niyamya Chinvan Vinde Nijaham Kritimula Rupam. And the very next one is this. Maunena Majjan Manasasvamula Charchaiva Satyatma Vicharanam Syat Eshohame Tanna Mama Swarupam, etc. Regular Vedic study, Vedantic study can be a stepping stone, but at some point you need to invoke and arouse, awaken certain intelligent self-awareness in yourself. Then you will see face to face the mischief-making aham vritti. Tackle it, and you are free. Thus, silence is a great yoga, a higher level of spiritual practices. Let's move towards it by living all the 24 hours with certain alertness. If we become less mechanical and do things with greater awareness, everything will fall in place. We can arrive at blissful silence thanks to certain living in awareness. It's not scholarship, it's not talent, it's not skills, it's not, of course, good looks, it's not the money bank balance. But day in and day out, in small and big things, let us be a bit more watchful and be true to the voice of conscience. Let us not compromise with our own values. Let us be vigilant. Gentle vigilance will sort out a lot of things, and mental chatter will reduce. Silence will become perceptible. In that silence, we can reach higher levels of spirituality. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.